Welcome to I Don't Get It, the pop culture guide of my lawn cast. This show features the open-minded musings of two early 50s curmudgeons, each of them staring down the prospect of entertainment irrelevance. I am your co-host, Bill Scurry of America's These Enterprises. I'm the founder and proprietor of The Enterprise, which, as everybody knows, is the finest in sock puppetry.
Okay. You want to unpack that? Yes, I gotta unpack that, as they do with all of your little flights of fancy about what American Caesar does.
There's a lot of business models, you know?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, I went through a brief period where I wanted to be a puppeteer. And I read a book about how to be a puppeteer, how to be a ventriloquist. And I remember their advice at the beginning is, even when you're practicing, you want a good puppet. But a sock puppet can be a good puppet. Like, a sock is fine as long as you give it eyes and all that. So there's something to be said for sock puppetry, right?
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I believe that's on topic, and I would. We could take you on as a consultant. I think that sounds pretty good.
Also, in that era, when I was getting to stand up, I really liked Dennis Leary's stand up in the era, and he goes this whole rant about how when Jim Henson died, how like Kermit the Frog or Big Bird, one of them sang at his funeral. They had
Big Bird, yeah.
Big Bird sang at his funeral. And he just, Dennis Leary was all about the angry comedy. And he just starts going on. He's like, when I die, I don't want a fucking sock performing at my funeral. And I just love the hyperbole of likening that Big Bird costume, which was probably a magnificent piece of work of puppetry and craftsmanship or what have you, and likening it to a sock.
Yeah, real artistry. And he's just denigrating it. Yeah, absolutely. I would like to ask on behalf of everyone listening, who am I speaking to?
Oh, yeah. My name is Noah Tarnow. I'm the founder and the senior quiz master of the Big Quiz Thing, the trivia game show spectacular. And speaking of superheroes, Bill, Batman and ventriloquist and whatnot, our topic this week, we try to look at things that are happening in pop culture, things that are going on. And you and I are both superhero fans, we're both comic readers. We've done some comic book superhero adjacent topics in the past, right? What have we done? We did the Joker movie.
Yes, that is true. We never actually dealt with a comic book, I don't think, unless I'm wrong.
I don't think we've dealt with a comic. We did it. We did the Joker movie. Did we do one of the Avengers movies?
Endgame for sure. Yeah.
We did Endgame.
Yeah.
Is that it?
No, I think there's probably an Ant-Man or something like that in the middle of all this.
Did we do an Ant-Man movie?
Shazam? Yeah,
we didn't do Shazam.
I know, but it's like there's a lot of the stuff along the way where it's kind of like, this is this weekend is pop culture. It's a comic book adaptation, and we did the Batman, of course. That was a movie.
We did the Batman. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so good. Continue. Go on.
So this isn't a comic book. This is a TV show.
Yes.
And this was your suggestion. The 4th season just premiered of an adaptation of a comic book on the Amazon Prime network. So you made me violate one of my principles, which is not to use Amazon very much these days. The 4th season just began of the cartoon animated adaptation of the comic book series Invincible. He cannot be vinced, Bill. There was no vincing of this character.
It would be a poor choice if you opted to do that. Exactly.
Right, if you vinced him. So, Bill, tell us about the animated Amazon televisual program Invincible.
Invincible is, as you say, an animated superhero television series created by Robert Kirkman. First time that name has come up in this podcast, so far as I remember, for the Amazon Prime streaming service. And just to alley-oop your little thing there about having to deal with Amazon, I just went ahead and stole this. I did not pay them for it.
You did?
Yeah, I just say fuck them. That's what I'm saying. Go have another wedding in Venice, fucking Bezos. Build some more fucking cock rockets and jack off. Right, anyway.
How do you really feel, Bill?
How do I feel about it? Yes, so it's on Amazon Prime, based on the Image comic book series of the same name, co-created by Kirkman with the artists Cory Walker and Ryan Ottley. And they figure into this because the actual animation style is a very good adaptation, essentially, of Ryan Ottley's pencils. It's like they use the models and the sort of rendering of the shapes of characters. The sort of vocabulary, the figure vocabulary comes straight from the comics, which is pretty cool. So the series follows teenager Mark Grayson, a human-alien hybrid who becomes a crime-fighting superhero known as Invincible under the guidance of his father, Nolan, who also is a powerful Superman Monkey, I guess, named Omni-Man. And he is the most powerful superhero on the planet, who has a life as comic book trope. He lives a suburban life with a family, and then goes out, puts on a costume, essentially has a different persona, that kind of thing.
I can't tell if his identity is secret or not.
I think it is. I mean, other than the fact that the CIA spook Cecil know about him.
But yeah, people know. But I mean, he doesn't wear a mask and he's got a distinctive mustache. But I can't tell if that's. I guess it is secret.
Yeah, it's
right?
It's tropey. It's comics 101 type stuff. Right. You understand. So as Invincible, Mark adjusts to his new powers. He struggles to balance his personal life. Pretty stock standard Spider-Man type stuff. Balancing the personal life with the superhero duties. Yep. And he's forced to prove that he can live up to his father, unaware of a conspiracy that threatens the world, leading him to question the true nature of his role. His role as the son of Omni-Man, the son of this guy Nolan, what he's supposed to do with his powers, and what the heritage has lined up for him in the future. So anyway, Steven Yeun, the great actor Steven Yeun from The Walking Dead, got preferential treatment. He's incredible. Was he an Oscar-nominated guy for Minari, among other things?
He was Oscar-nominated. Steven Yeun.
Really? Oh yeah, he's great. He's great. Yeah.
The only thing I've seen him in is Walking Dead. Wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, his career. He's
by the way, Walking Dead. Those also created by Robert Kirkman. Yes. Also based on a Robert Kirkman comic book.
Yeah, adapted.
We'll talk more about that.
Stretched further, than this for sure. But so yeah, Steven Yeun plays Invincible. J.K. Simmons, just kidding, Simmons as I like to call him, plays Ultraman or Omni-Man, whatever. And Sandra Oh plays his mom and mother, Debbie Grayson, that sort of thing. And
his mom and mother.
His mom and mother. So the remaining cast members have recurring roles. Invincible premiered its 8-episode first season in 2021. Amazon renewed it for 2 and 3 thereaafter, and the series kind of instantly had widespread critical acclaim, praise for the animation, praise for the action sequences. There's some money in it. I mean, the animation it doesn't strike me how it's somehow more expensive to animate certain sequences than others. How would drawing people eating breakfast be different than an Alien Armada? It's just, I could be wrong. I just think that it's all craft, but what do I know? So this gets a lot of attention for the battle sequences. It's sort of comic book language. It does all those things very, very well. And there's A-listers doing the voices. Steven Yeun, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons.
I wouldn't call them A-listers.
I would definitely call them A-listers.
I mean, it's not Robert De Niro and Tom Cruise.
Oscar winner J.K. Simmons, he's an A-lister,
Look, they're stars. That counts for something.
He's down the A-list, The B-list is
Walton Goggins. No, and I'm actually going to make a point of that. These are names. I mean, compared to cartoons when we were kids, Olan's, the biggest star in cartoon voices when we were kids was Casey Kasem. No, I'm nitpicking with you. I don't call these people A-list.
I would, but still.
Okay.
It's got some Emmy
nominations. Your A is bigger than my A.
Critics' Choice Television Awards, Best Animated Series, that sort of thing. No, I had not watched this. I watched seasons 1 and 2. And I
have now, but I had not.
Didn't realize I missed 3, but I started watching 4 just to see where the series is picking up. Anyway, so what did you get from your glean of this show?
Yeah, so, I made it through 5 episodes of season 1, which is to say I do like this. But I am have been a big fan of, I like The Walking Dead before it was cool. No, I actually started reading The Walking Dead comic very early in its run. So this was 2003, well before the TV series. And I bought it every issue every month for a good 5 or 6 years, and then lost track of it and then caught up with it again later online. So I am a fan of Robert Kirkman as a writer. I had read a few of his things that he did for Marvel. And then I watched the first few seasons of The Walking Dead before it fell off a cliff, the TV show. And I was always aware of Invincible. I would see the comics. I thought the character had a cool looking costume, right? Cool character design. But one of the things that turned me off, other than the fact that I just don't read as many new comics as I used to. For a while, I was reading no new comics, and I read some new comics now online. But one of the things that mainly DC, because I have a subscription to the DC Universe app. But one of the things that I don't want to say turned me off about Invincible, but didn't draw me in, was it sounded like something I'd read a million times. You said it's the Spider-Man formula. And it certainly is. I mean, one of the things that was considered very groundbreaking about Spider-Man when it character first appeared in the 60s was that this is a real superhero, a teenager with teenager problems. And you read those comics now and you're like, really? This is real? But, at the time, certainly compared to most superhero comics where the characters had no personality whatsoever, or their personality was, what's the new way I can fool Lois Lane into not realizing that Clark Kent is Superman? So that is, by this point, a well-worn formula. I've read a lot of Spider-Man. I read in the 80s, I was reading Firestorm, which was a bit of a DC take on the same thing there, Firestorm being a teenager. So a teenager grappling with being a superhero seemed very overdone to me. And I didn't feel a need to engage with the comic. And I don't even think I was aware there's a cartoon. I mean, I'm sure I heard, but it just skipped over my knowledge. There's so much superhero stuff now anyway. But thank you for encouraging me to. I'm glad I did, because I do enjoy this. And by the way, Kirkman is the showrunner on this. His other than writing the source material, which I take it this is a pretty faithful adaptation of the comic, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, if anything, it winds up doing things differently with a story honed for television that you don't need to do a 100% translation of a comic book. You should lean into the strength of TV.
Well, but there are Walking Dead is a bit of a loose translation, right?
Very loose and tonally,
I mean, there are things that are looser, but yes, it is. I mean, they introduce new characters, and characters are different people, and all sorts of stuff. So I take it this is more faithful. So I do enjoy this, and Kirkman's hands are all over this. This TV show is still
episodes of it as well.
Yeah, is a Kirkman project. So this underlines that he's a good writer, and just like the Walking Dead comic, which at first you're like, well, what's so special about this? I've read 1 million zombie stories. And there's the funny story of when Kirkman was pitching Walking Dead to Image, at first they turned it down because they're like, well, why do we need another zombie story? We've heard the zombie apocalypse story 1 million times. So he flat out lied to them. And he said, well, the zombie apocalypse is caused by an alien invasion. And they're like, oh, well, that's a twist. We'll give it a shot. And of course, he never brought the aliens in. He just ignored that element. So like Walking Dead, I feel like this shows Kirkman's strength of finding a way to make something that sounds like we've heard it 1,000 times before, the zombie apocalypse, the teenage superhero balancing life and being a hero. And he found a way to make it fresh with the details. They want to send Mark to Mars, and he's like, well, I won't miss any school. I'll be there and back in a day. And they're like, the fact that you don't know how far away Mars is proves that you need to stay in school. A lot of the conceit, at least in these early episodes, is his dad is training him to be a superhero. And they talk about the physics of flying and punching while you're flying and carrying things. And how do you scare a supervillain? You threaten to drop him. Well, how do you threaten him in a way that he believes where you still don't have to kill him? Because I know you don't want to drop him. Yes, the crux of this a lot is juggling his social life, his dating life with, he doesn't want to tell his girlfriend about his, about his secret identity. So what stories does he tell her? The conversations between the two of them are very simple, but they're very relatable. And it's well acted. By the way, I forgot to say, Stephen Ewan, also the star of another former topic of ours, Beef. Remember Beef?
That's true. Yeah, Beef.
Are they going to do a second season of Beef?
The trailer came out. It is completely different in terms of complexion. Still, there's an Asian element to it, but it's also... But
is it different actors, or it's still Stephen Ewan?
It's anthology. Yeah, it's an anthology. It's different actors, yeah.
Different actors. All right. I mean, I loved Beef. It was great. I love the animation details. The costume is great. Why are his eyes eggs?
Why are they round?
But his eyes look just like eggs. I realize they're supposed to be like little goggle type things.
Yeah, they're like...
It's distracting. They look like eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Am I crazy? Am I wrong?
I didn't think anything of it, but
Anyway, the costume's cool. The character designs are great. The other superhero names are really clever. A couple of his colleagues are called Adam Eve and Rexplode. I love that. Kirkman does job one of the superhero writer, which is just, having a great imagination for the tiny details. The action scenes are very cool. The fighting scenes are easy to follow, very exciting, very thrilling. Little details like they fight a bunch of aliens who suddenly have to retreat because they start deteriorating. They basically start dying of old age because the aliens didn't realize that time dilates on their world different than in our world. So when they enter our world, they die of old age within a couple minutes. Very clever. That is job number one of being a comic book writer, having a fantastic imagination. The animation is, I'll talk about more in this a bit, but the animation is a bit like the writing itself, is that you take a basic formula, which is this anime style where things don't really, you look at a face talking, things don't really move that much. It's almost clutch cargo in its basicness, so just the eyes blinking and the mouth moving. But it finds a way to take those simple ingredients and make them work. It makes the simplisticness an asset by finding the character, finding the pathos, and the sympathy in the characters, in the details, in the script, and making the simplisticness of the animation work to its advantage. I really like that. And, you said A-list, I say B-list, but what a crazy world we live in that a superhero cartoon is using Oscar winners and Oscar nominees as its voices. Again, when we were kids, there was no one bigger than Casey Kasem, right?
No, it's less surprising now because every single cultural inroad is grist for the mill. You know what I mean?
Is superheroes or as cartoons or as TV, right? Never would have happened when we were kids where superhero cartoons, it was Olan Soule and Frank Welker, etc. A couple questions for you. One, his name is Mark Grayson. Why did they give him the same last name as arguably the best known teenage superhero in comic book history?
I don't think that's an accident. I think that
it can't be.
It's a reference.
I feel like it's distracting. Right.
Sure.
And he goes to Reginald Vel Johnson High School, and the principal is Mr. Winslow, played by Reginald Vel Johnson.
Yeah.
Who those you don't know.
It's cheek,
Well, but I don't get the joke. Reginald Vel Johnson's the dad from Family Matters, where his character, not a high school principal, he's a cop. He's Mr. Winslow, right? He's Urkel's foil, for those who don't remember. Why? What is the reference there? I don't get it.
That's a good question.
I don't get it.
That's why it's there.
Anyway, so I'm enjoying the show a lot. I think I'm going to continue with it. We're awash in superhero content and superhero media these days, but a lot of it's really underwhelming. It's stuff I dreamed as a kid, seeing all my favorite heroes easily accessible on TV, but a lot of it just leaves me cold. But this gets the job done, so I'm glad it's there.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's a ubiquity to all this stuff, too. That's what's weird about it. Well, I was not a reader of the series. In fact, I kind of been largely distant from Robert Kirkman's output for the most part. I guess I've always been impressed that after starting out as a sort of a hack, he did a bunch of Marvel runs, and I think he did a DC run. It wasn't nothing really distinguished. He just wrote issues of Ant-Man and stuff like that. I mean, he had a small bit of success, but he wasn't this tycoon. But he's turned into an impresario. I think it's the exact word you can use in this case, because he took a stand on creators' rights. He vowed to only work for himself through Image Comics. And so he said, I'm never doing a hack job for the man anymore. I'm going to write what I own and own what I write. And I'm going to be the sole benefit. Me and the creators essentially will eat 100% of what we make off of these things. We're not going to share with a giant company. So he called the shot, and he won. He got wealthy off of The Walking Dead. The TV rights sold to AMC through, Darabont produced it. That was a real. I think that was generational money he got for selling The Walking Dead into perpetuity, and that changed his entire profile. Then he was given the opportunity. Like, after that, I could just do Invincible, which is something I want to do rather than what the market will bear. So he has an imprinted Image Comics called Skybound, and that's his particular cave over at Image. And this, like you mentioned, it's a pastiche of a lot of superhero tropes. It's got the Superman thing. It's got the heavy Spider-Man thing to it. I think that it is really syncretic of all the stuff that worked. It's not a mistake or an accident that all this stuff kind of winds up being focused on Mark Grayson. He is piggybacking on all the stuff that's already out there in popular culture. It kind of saves him from having to reinvent something. There is an invention in this, which comes in terms of his father's heritage. There's something that you kind of have not seen before generally. But the Spider-Man basis of it is what it's all built around, So I like season one.
I don't know. We've had superheroes who I'm going to mention later, Starman. The whole thing about that, it's not quite mainstream, was carrying on your parents' legacy as a superhero.
Sure.
There've been stories like
and
that.
you know, Kirkman read that too. You definitely know that.
I'm sure he did. Yeah.
So I watched seasons 1 and 2, liked them quite a bit. You know, Kirkman and his team followed the comics slavishly. That's what's it's an adaptation of form, but it really hews close to the narrative. Like they don't really step off a lot unless it's improve the story or sort of cut to the quick and make it so that you're going to use an 8-episode season. I guess an 8-episode season it pretty much encompasses something like 15 issues of the comic. I don't know what the ratio is.
Is it that faithful an adaptation that you can map it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. So the comic book is done, and so this is heading to finition.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was still going.
No, this has been years of it being finished, and so if you read the comic book, you know exactly how it's going to go. They're adapting it pretty much spot on. So the art style is based on the oddly character designs, which is great. My enthusiasm kind of waned as the series went on. I kind of watching this to see how many rabbits Kirkman pulls out of his hat without it feeling a little repetitive. That's not really much of a complaint. That's just sort of an operating thing for me. But actually, the thing that kind of bugs me tonally about this is that there's a lot of goofy characters. Like this has. Seth Rogen plays a one-eyed cyclopic alien with his goofy Seth Rogen voice. His name is Alan the Alien.
I've heard about that. I haven't reached that character.
I think it shows up at the finale of season 1 is Alan the Alien.
And by the way, Rogen is working on a live-action adaptation of Invincible. A live-action movie is in the works with Rogen at the helm. Just so you know.
I don't think we need that, but yeah. So
why don't we need that?
Well, because we have this. Is it going to do better than this?
You mean the world doesn't need that? I thought you meant we don't need to mention that. No. Of course we don't need any of this shit.
Well, if you're going to do this, but yeah. So the tone of that stuff, like there's a lot, and like Scott Aukerman from Comedy Bang Bang plays it's an idiot, like a dunderheaded alien idiot spaceship captain in season 4. And again, like the fact that you're going for this kind of like a stoner humor, that kind of like Seth Rogen laugh in between characters quite literally getting their heads crushed by like a Superman clap. And it's a varying tone sometimes that's a little hard to swallow.
You saw her in the hospital. Broken legs, broken face, in a coma. All thanks to one of your friends.
They weren't my friends.
She wasn't even better before she had to go back out there to save your ass and got torn in half by that maniac.
That wasn't my fault.
So why is it popular?
Well, this is pure superhero fiction from a master superhero creator adapting his own work, and we keep making mention of all the tropes inside of this, and that, Kirkman, there's a lot of what we call the Bronze Age in this, the sort of age of comics that takes place from the 70s. There's a lot of Silver Age stuff, like the big science. When you start to have space and aliens and pocket dimensions, then you wind up getting to like the Julie Schwartz territory of like, the stuff of Isaac Asimov almost, and like, Harlan Ellison. But then there's also a lot of just meat and potatoes, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby type stuff in here too. There's little chance that if you liked Invincible, and again, because it was a comic book, I don't know if it was color. I'm sure that was a small, but
I think it was in color.
I think it was in color. Yeah, Walking Dead was black and white. Invincible was a color comic. If you liked that monthly comic, there's little chance that you would not like this. But that's a small audience. I mean, that is a fragment of a fragment of a fragment of a fragment. But in a sense, like this is well written. It's filled with A-listers, as I would term it, voice actors. It is funny, like you said, that voice acting used to be, to some degree, especially for children's entertainment, it was a circuit all of its own. Actors like Frank Welker and Peter Cullen, that's Optimus Prime, who just focused on that. Like they just were professional cartoon actors, and they did every single show for decades on end. They popped up in G.I. Joe, they popped up in Masters of the Universe, they popped up on Silverhawks, and it's like that was a crew of actors who did these things.
Remember Shrek? Remember what was new about the movie Shrek? Is that they were actually casting. It was a cartoon movie, and they were selling it based on celebrities. It never happened before, right? They never tried to sell a Disney movie based on celebrities. And I remember this. This is how awkward it is. There was a commercial. Sorry to interrupt you. There was a commercial for Shrek. I remember thinking it was so desperate. A TV commercial for the movie Shrek with literally showing footage of Mike Myers and whoever, like in the studio reading the characters. And I'm like, man, you're trying too hard here. But it was a new thing to sell a movie based on who it starred.
No, it's
sell
true.
an animated movie based on who it starred.
The golden age of Disney stuff, the Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast of it all, like they just went to voice actors who were trained singers. They were not celebrities.
Those people were very talented, but they were not being sold on their names.
In fact, the biggest actor in that roster was Robbie Benson, did the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast. So if you know who Robbie Benson was, then that's
everyone's favorite, Robbie Benson.
The J.K. Simmons of his day. So this thing moves at a breakneck pace. It's a soap opera with capes and heroes, and that is not faint praise. That is actually that is a real applauded on in its favor. And, that's a lot of the reason why Kirkman's form of storytelling, i.e. Walking Dead, is popular, because the guy writes comics that's not an unusual thing. Chris Claremont wrote comics as if they were X-Men comics, as if they were soap operas. But there's a real skill to doing that, and there's something almost at the heart of the pulp. If you can get
that was Stan Lee's idea, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, comics changed. Not that anybody listening to this would know. Comics had changed to something more akin to like adaptations of movies. After 1998, 1999, comics became widescreen entertainment. The idea is that they were going to adapt movies into comics, and then of course the Avengers was an adaptation of Ultimates. It kind of ate its own tail after a while. But this is just meat and potatoes storytelling that has a real comic book sense to it.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. This is that Spider-Man formula done very well. This, I want to say uneasy, but seemingly uneasy balance of the world stakes of, alien conquerors and asteroids are going to destroy the Earth. But the detail of like, how am I going to lie to my girlfriend? How am I going to get to school in time? What are my father's expectations of me, etc. It just attests to the quality of Kirkman's writing. I mentioned the animation style before. It is very modern. It is very, I haven't watched much anime. We watched Death Note together in the early episodes of our show.
The first 10 or 15 we did, yeah.
And that is still my touch point for anime programming. And it reminds me of that. It looks, as I said, looks very simple, almost 60s crap cartoon, lots of steady pans in, but that shows you anime's influence in that's the grammar of cartoons, but particularly fantasy, superhero, science fiction cartoon world. Almost a punk rock idea of using the basic ingredients in a consistent but appealing and emotionally affecting way. You complained a little bit about the tone, that you think it's tonally off. The show's very graphic, by the way. It's not for little kids. There's a lot of dirty words. We don't see boobs, but there's implied sex. Or at least I didn't see boobs in the first 5 episodes. But that there's extreme violence balanced with this kind of arch level of, post-ironic humor. That is also the lingua franca of fantasy superhero entertainment now. Look at The Boys, right? I think people, especially now that the superhero movie has become a little stale, people want, not exactly right, but I think fair enough to describe what people are asking for is a little more realism for superheroes, meaning, next level characterization, what is considered more realistic violence, even though this kind of violence is, I guess a head would crush if a superhero squeezed it, but that's not really what's real about it. The Hollywood formula has gotten stale and people want more. And I think this does this well. It finds a way to strike that balance in a very elegant and, most importantly, entertaining way. I also think it's got very good pacing. The way they cut from the different aspects of life is great. There was a scene in the last episode I watched where Mark and Invincible is very powerful. He's basically like Superman level. And he's texting his girlfriend, making up excuses about why he's late while a villain is attacking him. And you don't even see the villain. You just see like stuff bounce off Invincible's head that's being thrown at him and explosions he's just brushing off while he's focused on his phone, and you see the text of his texting on the screen. Very nice. They are doing a little. They're not showing you what you don't need. Good pacing, good storytelling, good plotting. And look, man, I'll get to this more when I talk about would I like this, but the appeal of superheroes, when you step back, is it is an I think Scott McCloud called it an adolescent power fantasy, which is why superheroes were considered kid stuff, which is why superheroes were considered boy stuff, because, it is boys who have always craved power, because that is supposedly our birthright, at least in our society. And, why Spider-Man was appealing is literally an adolescent. The power fantasy made explicit, because we are adolescents who don't feel much power. We can't control our girlfriends. We can't control our private lives. We can't control what our teachers say to us. We can't control what our parents make us do. And, seen through the lens of a superhero gives us a little more power, but, adds a little more emotional stakes to it when we see that it isn't all upside. What's the downside of power, which makes it a more engaging story.
Wait a second. Your mission, your real mission, was to bang your way across the galaxy, looking for someone your people could make babies with?
We didn't put it like that.
I know you would have liked this as a kid, but please tell me how it would have gone down.
Well, if I had started, and so the comic series started around the same time as Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
2003, 2000.
Probably within the same year.
All right. So it's almost happenstance that I didn't get into this when I got into The Walking Dead, because, as I said, I bought Walking Dead every month. I would go to, Midtown Comics, 40th Street and 7th Avenue in Manhattan every week, buy a whole bunch of comics. And I saw Invincible. I liked the costume design. I saw it was the same guy who did Walking Dead. It's almost happenstance that I didn't get into this in my 20s, because if I had, I'm sure I would have been a big, big fan. A couple years earlier, I was reading Starman, the DC series Starman, which was a mainstream DC Comics comic book about a guy who's in his late 20s. His father's a superhero, and he is forced to inherit the mantle of being a superhero, but he does it his way. And I was crazy about that comic because it spoke to me where I was at the time. I was just graduating college. I was growing into becoming an adult, and it was implanting the superhero power fantasy that I had grown up with and was part of my DNA into me trying to be, what kind of adult am I going to be? Am I going to be this, this arch clever hipster like Jack Knight, Starman? It was very appealing to me. If Invincible had been around, though, when I was younger, when I was a kid or when I was a teenager, I would have gone fucking crazy for this. Because, I never really honed in before on how much I love this conceit. Because as a kid, man, my number one dream, more than anything else, was to be a superhero. I mean, obviously, I was smart enough to know that was never going to happen. I could still hold out hope I would be on SNL, but in my deepest, darkest thoughts, yeah, sure. If I could have God come down and give me anything, I'd be a superhero, because that was the ultimate fantasy for me. And this is telling that story in a very relatable, very real, very, what I would have considered at the time, very smart and adult way. This is the essence of much of the superhero appeal, the adolescent power fantasy. So, yes, that's why I would have loved the Invincible comic as a kid. Would I have loved the cartoon? I don't know. We're basically saying they're one and the same, right? Of course I would have loved the cartoon. I cannot imagine how different our childhoods would be if there was this much superhero media. I mean, we begged for every scrap, man.
But
remember how exciting it was?
We had toy commercials. Was that not superhero media to some degree? Like fucking Thundercats? I mean, was that...
Well, barely. But no, but I mean, it was. But seeing any DC character, the Flash TV show, do you remember how exciting it was?
Yes, that was a sell, all right. I remember
that. This is why we love the Super Friends, even though it was a pile of, steaming horse shit, was because it was seeing Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman on the screen. I remember, dude, this is how horny we were, wrong term, for mainstream DC Marvel character content on TV, etc. The Flash TV show, which was okay. And I'm talking the Flash TV show from 1990. There was an episode where a character, John Wesley Shipp, where a character literally mentions Grodd, Gorilla Grodd. Just says Grodd. The name Grodd implies that that's a character. I remember rewinding and watching that 5 times just to hear the name Grodd spoken on CBS. I mean, I can't imagine how different childhood would be if we had cartoons if we had a Peacemaker TV series, if we had an Animal Man cartoon. I mean, it's amazing. I have trouble relating to that. So it was my fantasy. I'd be all over this, of course.
I think that the appeal of this to a younger Bill would have been flatter. I mean, it would have been more intense. In fact, I think I might have liked it more as a kid than I do now, only because I'm so...
Oh, I easily would have.
Yeah, I'm so inured to comic book fiction now that it's in a continuum with everything we've ever seen. Like I said, there's a fucking 2 seasons of a Peacemaker show on HBO Max, which is amazing that, like, this is the world we live in, is John Cena's playing Peacemaker in a strange offbeat show that has some real heart to it. But, you know, the expensive cartoon with great animation is built on a pediment of ultraviolence, or at least that's how I would have looked at it in terms of the art I was looking to suck up, was the graduation from Roger Stern and John Byrne comics into, well, what is the next step? If you take this stuff seriously, if you get out of the realm of writing for teenagers, and those Roger Stern and John Byrne are comic book writers. They're old salts who came through the 70s and 80s. That's what that's a stand-in for, essentially, is what it means. Is the addition of violence, the addition of sex, the addition of all the stuff that I started seeing in anime at that time, of how, like, when I, as a kid, my eyes landed on Akira for the first time, and I'm watching this, and it's just, I can't believe, there's not really nudity. Well, there's one pair of breasts in Akira, but it's more the scale of the violence and the strange oddity of it all. And that it's a science fiction story to end all science fiction stories. And it's like, oh, this is where we're going to go next. We're going to go for the shit that you can't do in a comic book. This isn't just, it's not for kids anymore. You know, this is definitely ultra. So, you know, it's weird to say this after the 2010s, you know, but this show takes comics seriously, you know, as if all the fucking major studios don't. You know, that's obviously at the same time. But I was looking for provocative and edgy stuff. The fact that you got, again, clapping people's heads into goo, and, you know, watching Invincible get the shit beat out of him.
Yeah, but there's a reason their heads are clapped into goo.
Yes. And I appreciate that now. As a kid, I think I wanted to see the sort of Grand Guignol gore fest of it all.
Is the success, the rise of Invincible. He cannot be Vince. There is no way to Vince this guy. He is immune to McMahons, to Fernier's, aka Alice Cooper, to Pastores and Curatolas. He's immune to Scully's, Bill. Scully's, Vince Scully. Yes. Is the rise of Invincible in any way a sign of the apocalypse?
No, this is the short line between A and B here. This is a cartoon on Prime, which offers a massive payout to Robert Kirkman.
Oh, well, yes, thank you. That is... No, it offers a payout to Jeff Bezos. That's how it's a sign.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, but it's like, so Kirkman is one of the, like, singular creatives in superhero fiction today. If you were in comic books, if you read comic books, and granted, that's a sliver of a sliver of a sliver, you're actually in the source material. You know his name because that's how consequential he is.
Is he still writing for Marvel?
No, he has not written for Marvel since he launched these books. That was it. He was out.
No.
Yeah.
I read something. He wrote like Marvel Zombies or something like 10 years ago.
That was 20 years ago, and that was the last. That was the last thing he wrote. Yeah, that was like.
Are you sure?
That was like 2003. Yeah.
Has he ever written for DC?
That's a good question. I would wager yes, because he was taking money at the time. But no, he has not worked for the man in a good long time. Marvel Zombies.
I'm looking this up.
Anyway, but it's like, yeah.
He wrote Ultimate X-Men, Irredeemable Ant-Man, Marvel Zombies for Marvel.
And those were all around 2000, 2001. Those are
I'm looking for this. I'm going to look at his bibliography.
So the thing is, again, it's the success, and the guy gets paid, and it's a rah-rah story. Yeah, you know, I like everything.
He's written for Marvel as recently as 2008.
Then that was the end of it. Then
so you're wrong. I'm right.
So what could be wrong with any of this stuff? How could you possibly knock the effort and the outcome here?
Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, look, I'm sure there's some way you could argue that superhero fiction maintaining its ubiquity and having this edge of violence is dangerous. I don't agree. I think if you care about superheroes and think there's worth in that as a storytelling element, and I do, I mean, I'm biased, but I do, I think he's keeping it alive because superheroes are definitely grown stale in our society. I mean, remember how exciting it was when the Marvel movies first really broke out, that first Iron Man movie. And now it's just, is Marvel dead? All that. Definitely there's a staleness that has grown. I was always underwhelmed with most of the DC shows. I mean, God, the Flash. Now I'm going to talk about the more modern Flash TV show. One of the greatest TV disappointments in my life. I mean, that was on paper my dream. And every episode I just had to slog through because it's so fucking boring.
It was a budget thing. It was all about the budget. That's what they did on that show,
Bullshit. Here's my thing about Hollywood. Fucking bullshit. You can't hire a good actor. There are people all over the streets of New York and LA begging for work. If you have anything relating to a major studio behind you, you could get supremely talented actors if you put in half a degree of effort. And they just refuse. They'd rather get a pretty face and not give a shit about the acting.
Well, when you shoot in Toronto, this is what you get,
Then you fucking fly up someone from New York. Didn't you find a talented person in Toronto? It's the biggest city in Canada. There are talented actors begging for work. There is never a reason for a major studio or a major producer to have a shitty actor. I'm sorry. There just isn't. I stand by that. I used to always say, she's a bad actress, but she's hot. I don't care. There are tons of hot women who are great actors. Use them. I'm serious, man. I'm serious. I have no patience for that. Sorry. Anyway, my point is, it's the opposite of the apocalypse because it is keeping the genre alive, and I care about the genre. I think it has value as part of a storytelling tradition, as part of American culture. What are the great creations of the arts that are purely American? Superheroes, jazz, rock and roll is just as much English.
Baseball.
If you consider that arts, okay, sure. I think these things are important. So I'm glad that someone is still doing superheroes right when it seems that to the non-superhero fan layman that they could view it as a fad whose time has passed.
You're gonna ruin everything. Which is why you need to die.
Noah, I want you to describe in detail the feelings of jealousy that this show makes you feel.
Oh, of course. I mean, putting aside that I wish I was Mark Grayson and I had been a teenage superhero, I'm wondering why I never did read Invincible back when I was spending $50 on comics every week. Because I liked Kirkman. I liked the design. I think part of it is I was jealous of Kirkman. Robert Kirkman is 3 years younger than us. I remember reading The Walking Dead in its early days, and the letter columns were pages long. He would write these essays and blah, blah, blah. And I remember when he said, I'm 25 years old. Probably in 2003. And I remember going, that has to be a joke. There's no way this guy's only 25. But he was. He was born in 1978. And I was really fucking jealous of him. And I wanted, despite enjoying Walking Dead and looking forward to every issue, I wanted to dismiss him. So when I saw, oh God, I'd heard this before, Spider-Man, Firestorm, whatever, Teen Titans, a teenage superhero balancing life and superheroism. How is this different? I bet this is the same thing we've seen 1,000 times before, and it's only getting published because people like Robert Kirkman and publishers are lazy, and this guy is already my boy, so we'll give his idea a try, and if dorks buy it, we don't give a shit if it's good or not. So I wanted to dismiss this as nothing special. So I never engaged with it, but I think a lot of that was jealousy. So, better late than never, I guess.
I'm a little jealous of Kirkman for not just making a living, but kind of becoming a wealthy tycoon. He's got a brand to himself. That's a big deal.
He is now the wealthiest man in Kentucky.
Really?
I don't think that's true.
No,
I'm
I
joking.
don't think so.
But he stayed in Kentucky. So now I'm going to look it up. There's got to be like tons of commodities guys.
There's billionaires.
Oil. Yeah, there's billionaires.
So the thing is...
But I'm just going to see if I can find a list of the wealthiest people in Kentucky. And see if Robert Kirkman's on.
The source of, the industry, comic industry has been in deep decline for a while. It exists pretty much as an IP feeder engine. Like, I think it's less than 100,000 people read these comics. I mean, probably a lot less, maybe as much as 10,000 people. It's like the numbers are so small, but it makes sense to keep these things around because there's a chance that you could have the next Scarlett Johansson playing Black Widow based on this stuff. So it's kind of a big deal. But he proves that it's possible to create good stuff, which appeals to a vast band of audience members looking for something edgy. But, well written at the same time. It's mature, it's old-fashioned, it is filled with neologisms. It kind of doesn't disappoint on any fronts. It serves a lot of audiences, or a lot of masters, and it does it very well.
All right, the richest person in Kentucky. There was only one person in the Forbes 400 from Kentucky. Tamara Hughes Gustafson, the largest shareholder of Public Storage, it's a big company, came in at number 118. Her net worth is $9.1 billion.
I'm sure
I am willing to bet
part of the dark money machine.
I'm sure she's a wonderful person. I am willing to bet that Kirkman has not made it to $1 billion yet.
Can you tell me where this ranks in the array of topics we've covered in the Filonian scale, Noah?
All right, Bill. So I mentioned Death Note. This reminds me of Death Note because there's a million cartoons that look like Death Note. This reminds me of that because I don't watch that many of them. And Death Note was good, right? And it's not just the look, it's the style, the slow, steady pans in, very anime kind of, the terrain of anime. So Death Note times, I was trying to think of superhero topics we've done before. I forgot about Avengers, but I said 1/8 of Joker, which wasn't very superhero-y, but comes from the superhero firmament. Death Note times 1/8 of Joker divided by Euphoria, right? Teens balancing life. It's not always easy. Plus 4.514514513. And that's where you arrive at "We Will Be Invincible." Great song.
Oh, man, yeah. So,
yeah.
But it's almost like I heard that put this episode together, at the beginning.
I know. What are the odds? Yeah.
So look, on account of this being well done, I've seen most of it. I like it, but I don't love it, I guess. Although I'm kind of a fan of it in the abstract more than maybe I want to stick through every single minute of it. I think I'm going to comp it with the Vegas Sphere, which looks like it could be cool, but I just don't know if I'm ever going to buy a ticket and sit in that huge vast dome.
I told you I went there, right? Since we've done that episode.
Yeah, you saw The Wizard of Oz, right?
I saw The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, there you go, man. How about that?
It was all right. It was not quite the experience I wanted, but I'm glad I did it.
Exactly. Well, I believe that takes us to the end of yet another episode, Noah. So I'm going to read the boilerplate to take us out is what I'm going to do. If you would like to find past episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Soundcloud, GooglePlay, they're all there waiting for you. By all means, have at them. Skeet to us at noahandbillshow.bsky.social. Write to us, noahandbilldon'tgetit@gmail.com. Give us a review because we love that. I am on the socials, primarily at billscurry.bsky.social. At William Scurry on Twitter and Instagram and things like that. YouTube.com/AMCaesars, where you'll find the video feed for this podcast. And Noah is also attainable. You can reach him. He's there.
At BigQuizThing.com. Learn about the Big Quiz Thing, America's premier provider of corporate and private live trivia events, nationwide, worldwide. Busy spring season for me. I got first event I'm ever hosting in Colorado coming up. Our first event in Wisconsin ever is happening soon. I believe that will be our 35th state. We're conquering the world, friends. A lot of fun stuff. We did a big event last night for Hillel International, the college campus Jewish group. Big conference of theirs in Philadelphia. Big Quiz Thing was there, providing some Jewish themed trivia fun. Always like doing those. And we've done a couple bat mitzvahs lately, having a good time. So learn about how you can get the finest in trivia service for your event, wherever you happen to be. Go to bigquizthing.com and hire us today. And I am personally on Instagram. I'm back into trying to post more, Bill. I say this today, I'm going to forget tomorrow. But as of this morning, I'm back on I want to post once a day. We'll see. The Noah Tarnow.
All right, everybody. So until Invincible is followed by its sequels, Impeterable, Ingariable, and Wallaceable, we don't get it.
A production of American Caesar Enterprises 2026.